I began by asking him about this retirement package bill that had quite some controversy. The president refused to assent to it last week, and there are those in ODM that have criticized the president for not doing so, for playing politics with it. But this is what he had to say about it, among other issues that we discussed.
Sophie, really don't really want to talk too much about this subject. This is a silly matter. Because it is something that is so obvious. And the bill went to Parliament. It was debated by members of Parliament, and it was approved. Now the hypocrisy is that you see some of those same members of Parliament now outside begin to sing a completely different tune because their boss has now refused to sign. You ask yourself, where were they? Why did they not say those things in the House during the debate? I mean, it is very flimsy to say that you are not active in politics and therefore you are not entitled to benefits, retirement benefits, because these benefits are for services rendered, are for something that you have already done, not what you are doing currently. So was I a Prime Minister of the Republic of Kenya? Yes. Was I a co-principal with President Kibaki? Yes. Why should Kibaki be entitled to his benefits and I not?
So the argument would be Kibaki is done with politics completely, but in the event that there is a President Raila Odinga come 2017, so then how would that pan out? Does the President Raila then earn the salary as president and still continue to get this pension?
At that point, then somebody could then say, now you are a president, then you now stop the pension until you retire at that time. But I'm not president, and I'm not a prime minister. In any case, the position of a prime minister and vice president have been scrapped.
Yes.
And there will never be one. So it is actually really irresponsible, and I say this is vindictive. And a sign of intolerance, because there are no presidents all over the world where this happened. You see, I gave an example of just next door, Tanzania. My friend Frederick Sumaye was the prime minister of President Mkapa. They went out. Mkapa retired because of the two-term requirement. Sumaye, of course, was not bad. He ran subsequently against President Kikwete and lost. Was again on the ballot subsequently. But even right now, as you know, Tanzanians are going for election this year. Prime Minister Sumaye is campaigning right now for a CCM ticket. He's one of the candidates, meaning that he's remained very much active politically, but he's enjoying his benefits in Tanzania. So that's the best actually parallel that you can draw.
Let's talk about the two-thirds gender rule as well. And I watched you in an interview where you suggested you are in support of the proposal to reduce the number of constituencies to 210, scrap the women rep positions, and then top up the deficit. But on the suggestion that political parties then also leverage their influence, say, for instance, ODM, in their strongholds, for example, in Kisumu, if they were to field a woman for a governor position, many would argue getting that nomination ticket is as good as a win. Can we see you say perhaps that political parties need to also have that as a responsibility, as a requirement to leverage on it to ensure that this one-third rule is met?
Political parties will have no problem with that, but there will be a problem that if you impose a woman on the electorate, the man who was also gunning for the same position can then move out of the party and run as an independent or join another political party, and then still end up defeating the woman.
But here we're working with the, from the premise that the political party has that influence, that by virtue of this person leaving, they've lost that mileage, because many people will vote for the party that whoever it is, if the ODM ticket, it's a no-brainer, not by merit of the candidate. So wouldn't that work?
You have a president, Kisumu Town West. The ODM nominated a woman candidate. The man, who was then the incumbent, moved to another party, the Honorable Olago Aloch, and was elected on a Ford Kenya ticket in an ODM stronghold. So we therefore have experience about this thing. Yeah. I have said that, you know, there are good reasons why women are never elected. I mean, find it difficult to be elected. Because women get relocated from their areas of birth and get married into completely new, different environment where they are not known. See, the people with whom they played as children, they're their contemporaries, their relatives, their mothers, their fathers, their cousins, and so on. They have left where they've come from. And here they're going to compete against a man who was born in that community. This one, we played together. This one, we were circumcised together. Okay. This one, we went to school together, and so on. So it is very difficult. It is even difficult for a man to win if he's relocated to another area. It is much more difficult for a woman.
All right.
And that's the reason why we must think out of the box and find a solution.
And find a solution. Matters graft, the Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital upgrade, the Deputy President's name has popped up. Your name as well has come in there. And Ojwang saying that you received some money from a Chinese contractor. Would you set the record straight for us on that one? Absolute
rubbish. I mean, I don't even know how my name came into this. And Ojwang himself has denied that the tip he gave to Parliament contained my name in that regard. He's saying that that thing was doctored somewhere. Albert knows it. It's not worked for me for over 10 years, and over 15 years.
So you've never received any money from the Chinese to fund your campaign?
Never received any money from the Chinese for the campaign. And you know, what is 5 million shillings for a presidential campaign? In any case, it's peanuts. So what I'm saying that if I was looking for campaign money, I would appeal to friends for support. These ones are not even my friends. I don't even know them. I've not had any dealings with them. So it is preposterous and very actually responsible to try to drag my name into an affair with which I have really nothing to do.
Nothing to do with. Speaking of campaign money, in terms of laws, that continues to be unregulated. Politicians will get all these amounts of money from different sources. Do you think we need to have a regulation in Kenya in terms of our electoral laws in funding, have a cap perhaps? Because some of these people argue allows for corruption deals to take place so that you get all of this money from these individuals. Once you're in office, it is time to give back.
You see, it's just like in the US and in other countries, it is regulated. There are clear rules. For example, companies are allowed to make contributions to political parties. It is even tax deductible for the companies. So a number of companies give both sides. They give to the Democrats and also give to the Republicans, for example. Yeah, in this case, the incumbency wants to starve the opponent of funding. They want to be the ones who receive the money. That's why they make it so opaque. And they blackmail the companies from funding the opposition, which is actually very unfair. Just like they themselves now arguing that for me to get money from the government, I'm going to use it for campaign. I mean, money which is just meant to feed myself, my family, and to make me mobile in terms of moving from point A to point B.
Right.
They also deny me that. Now, if I was going to be campaigning, how then would I campaign if I'm crippled? See, it is in a democracy. Democracy requires that is a strong ruling party and a strong opposition. So these people should promote the opposition. But they don't want opposition. They want to take this country back to single-party dictatorship.
So to regulate rather, election campaign funding or not?
There should be some kind of regulations.
Yes.
Which will show that well, this is the kind of funding that we require. This is the limit that is set. This also will actually help with the public generally. Because the general public which is making also too much demand on the candidates, that when election time comes, it's time for eating. So how much are you bringing? So and so has already brought so much, and so on. So maybe it is actually encourages and enhances corruption in our society.
All right. Let me take you back to the issue of China and what Zhuang said, because you recently visited China. And so there are those who said, you see, even as these allegations are coming out of him having been financed by the Chinese contractor, he's gone there again, perhaps in preparation and readiness for 2017. What do you say to those people?
And that's most unfortunate. And I'm very disappointed by your group of the media. Because they're the ones who are encouraging that kind of argument. They produce my picture, the chairman of a very reputable organization in China that is being received by the chairman of... Mr. Liu is a chairman of World Eminent Chinese Business Congress. That is an association that brings Chinese businessmen from all over the world, whether they are from the US, Canada, Singapore, Hong Kong, Australia, even Kenya, UK, and so on. And this was their annual congress. And I had the honor to go and address them on China, Africa, not just China, Kenya, China, Africa cooperation. That was the subject. And I presented a paper which was even given to the media here in this country. So it was not something opaque. It was something that's a very bad word. But when I left this country, my press secretary actually issued a release to say that I was going to China and what I was going to do in China. And that was received by the acting Kenyan ambassador to Beijing at the airport, and the Kenyan embassy attended the Congress, which I addressed.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Before we move away from matters graft, you said of President Uhuru Kenyatta's actions in as far as the list of shame is concerned that he should have gone further. Other than asking people to step aside, he should have outrightly fired them. But then that puts into question when you were Prime Minister and Karoli was implicated in the maize scandal. He stepped aside, and one would have argued at that time you could have fired him and did not. So requiring of the president to do what you could not do at a time you perhaps would have had that opportunity to?
No, you know, what I said was that there are ways of dealing with these issues. You know, there are code of regulations of government which are used in dealing with matters of discipline. Either somebody is reprimanded, there's called a reprimand, a severe reprimand. Right. Then there is a suspension, and then there is an interdiction. Depending on the gravity of offense which somebody has committed. As it were, Karoli and Isahakia, who are working for me, when their names were mentioned, they themselves decided to withdraw and before the suspension. But ultimately, there was a letter of suspension which specified clearly that you are out of office, you are supposed to report. And so why not allow for these ones as well to be cleared? Because firing somebody before they go due process has been the argument that it is not fair in the first place to then, as you're asking of the president to do, to fire them. No, it's most unfortunate. In fact, that's the reason why I told the president when I met him in Kisumu that your people, your close associates and advisors are letting you down. They're not giving the correct advice. Like, for example, on the one hand, he is declaring a war on corruption. Says that he's going to take it head on. And then simultaneously tables the list of shame, the so-called list of shame in Parliament, and gives instructions to IASA to complete investigations within 60 days.
Right.
Number one, it is wrong to give instructions to, or purport to give instructions to CASA, the IASA. IASA is supposed to be an independent organization, not under him, which is supposed to investigate him as the president. Okay? Two, it's not supposed to table a list in Parliament because under the Constitution and the Act, IASA is supposed to present a report to him and to Parliament. So already there was a report before Parliament. So it was not up to him to go and bring another list and table it in the House. Okay? But the worst is, at the same time when he's declaring war against corruption, he is also initiating moves to remove the commission from office, so that his own members are the ones who come up with a motion to suspend the commissioners and urging him to set up a commission, a tribunal.
However, this is not the first time, so we've seen the anti-graft institution come under this kind of issues and again end up vacant in terms of leadership. What is it going forward that Kenya needs to get right? Because under CASA, again, we saw the chairs leaving just as they came. It always seems to be thrown off course. What is it that Kenya needs to get this fight against graft right? Is it political will, as you've been alluding there before?
Yeah, it is from the top. Because you see, this anti-corruption institution is not the only institution which is actually meant to fight corruption. Because there are a number of corrupt practices which should really be dealt with ordinarily by the police. You have got a criminal investigation department which used to deal with these matters. These days, everything is actually left. It's come to a standstill, and people are just looking at ethics and the Anti-Corruption Commission. What is he doing? You cannot create a juggernaut that will be able to be looking at people's conduct all over the country. You cannot have an institution which will know somebody is right now committing a crime or a corrupt practice in Mandera, in Lamu, in Turkana, in Busia, in Migori, in Murang'a, and so on. I mean, it is not possible. Right. So you therefore need to ensure that all these institutions, taken together, do their work properly. See, so it must be a comprehensive,
multifaceted.
Yeah, exactly, multifaceted approach.
Let's talk about the Okoa bill that was launched recently, and one of the key reforms you seek there is on elections, electoral reforms. Beginning with the IEBC, you have time and again poked holes into their credibility, saying they should not, as currently constituted, be the ones to run the 2017 elections. If nothing changes between now and then, would you, if, say, ODM decides you're the presidential candidate, would you vie if the IEBC as currently constituted is going to conduct the elections 2017?
No, so you need proper reforms in the IEBC. Everybody, not only Kenyans, but even the international community, will tell you that they have no confidence in IEBC as currently constituted. They don't think that they have the moral mandate to do an election, given what they did last time round. And there's no evidence to show that something is being done to rectify the past. You see, just recently you saw in a by-election, I think in Kabete, where the electronic system collapsed. And this is just in a constituency. And you remember last time it collapsed all over the country. And by 9 a.m., they had abandoned it and had gone manual.
So it's 2 years to go to 2017. What happens if nothing has changed?
Nothing has changed. You see, these people have not even invited us. I was telling the chairman of IEBC the other day that you take the entire commission to the State House to meet the president and brief him on what you are doing, but you don't see it necessary to invite us as the opposition to sit with us and tell us what you guys are doing. Yet we are actors. So you're acting as if you are just an agency of the state. You are not fit to be a neutral arbiter in an electoral process.
So would you participate in an election then still?
No, we will not participate.
You will choose not to?
We will choose not to participate until a proper system is put in place that will ensure that the people's verdict is reflected in the outcome of elections.
All right. You also, one of the proposals in the Okoa bill is that should be IEBC's responsibility to ensure 80% registration. There are those who've criticized that and said, surely you cannot force people to register. Do you still stand by that?
No, you see, people want to register. It is the IEBC which is deliberately disenfranchising people from registering.
How?
By denying people opportunity to register. There are two ways. First is the issuance of ID cards.
That's not under IEBC.
That is not IEBC. That is the state, and the state is doing. That's why the bill is addressing two issues. One is that if you have attained the age of voting and you apply to be given an ID card, you will automatically get it within 60 days. Okay, that will obligate the state not to sit on IDs, as they did last time. You know, they are having mountains of IDs being kept here from regions that they thought were hostile to them. Okay. And they just released them after. Now, that's one. The other one is the issue of now registering people. That IEBC, the voter registration should be an ongoing exercise. Which
they argue they have been doing. This week, in fact, they've embarked on a voter education around the country that they launched. Yes.
They're just starting it now. Where are we now? It's 2.5 years since the last elections were held. What have they been doing all this time? And each time they keep on saying they don't have the money.
Yes.
They don't have the money. See, who's supposed to give the money? The government, okay? They keep on pumping money in a bottomless pit item called security. But they do not do this for an exercise which is very crucial for the people of this country.
So how then do you see it as happening in terms of the Constitution stipulating that IEBC must ensure 80% of eligible voters are registered?
This is when you see it will be one man, one vote, close to it. In other words, people will have been enfranchised to register as voters, okay? You see, that's one, that people must be given opportunity to have the ID card to register, and they must also be given opportunity to register. That is the responsibility of the Electoral Commission.
They can go out, but they cannot force people, because this then suggests IEBC must, by hook or crook, ensure, otherwise they will be breaking the law if they don't ensure 80%.
Minimum, that's minimum.
Minimum, yes.
Because we are allowed 20%, which is a lot.
Yeah.
If you had talked of 95%, I would think it was unreasonable. But 80% is not unreasonable.
So you're saying that should be a responsibility of the IEBC?
Yeah. Otherwise, the elections will not be reflecting the will of the people. Okay?
All right.
In some places, it is mandatory that every past citizen must register and must vote.
And it's the electoral body's responsibility to ensure that registration?
Yes.
Okay.
So That is a requirement that people will register. We believe that will help them. Just like the IBC will tell you that your post was stolen in another area because it did not have agents. You see, there's nothing more preposterous than that. Because it is the responsibility of IBC to ensure free and fair elections. Okay? That means that's why they have got returning officers, presiding officers, and clerks. Why should a presiding officer allow votes to be stolen? Why should an electoral clerk employed by ABC, paid public money, allow votes to be stolen or participate in it? And why don't they charge them? See, it is not your responsibility as a candidate to protect your votes. It is the responsibility of the Electoral Commission to protect the votes.
The sanctity of the vote.
Yes.
So one of the other proposals in Okoa Kenya bill is to address the issue of the ethnic balance, inclusivity in essence, and 15% saying that in both levels of government should be the maximum of any dominant ethnic group in any region, nationally and also at the county level. So the argument here then becomes, for the counties, it might be hard to achieve that because NCIC releases this report and says, as we speak, Bomet was ranked as doing worst because 97% public service in Bomet County is the dominant ethnic group that has taken all of those positions. So how do you, on one hand, intend to achieve this, especially with the counties? How would that be achievable? And number two, what do you do with already these huge numbers that are in office?
I think there's a misunderstanding there. That particular provision is talking about the national government only, because that's where all the ethnic communities meet. That all the national appointment to the national offices must reflect the ethnic diversity in the country.
Yes.
And that the maximum should be capped at 15% of any particular community. The counties, actually, the figures are different because there are a number of counties which are mono-ethnic.
Right.
See, so it would be unfair to impose that kind of requirement on the county government. Right. See, the counties are actually meant to balance this so that you find that people from a particular county will get more employment in their county, okay? But when it comes to the national level, where all the communities meet, that's where this discrimination has been most prominent, and that is where that requirement applies. It does not apply in the county.
Because the bill suggests the two levels of government, I guess, and that's where the confusion comes in, which two levels of this. So you're saying then that's an error in the drafting of the bill?
Yes.
All right. Security, another big issue. And you have, again, been very vocal on calling that the Kenya troops in Somalia be brought back home, that an exit strategy be put in place. However, when you were in government and they went in, at the time you did not have an exit strategy, and your argument was there was intelligence that required for the Kenyan troops to continue to stay in Somalia. Someone would look at that and say perhaps the same applies this time around, that the government, the security forces have this intelligence that is keeping the troops there and thereby not coming out with this timeline. The same way you didn't see it at the time.
Our presence in Somalia has evolved. Initially, when we took the decision to send our troops to Somalia, it was basically it was not to go into Somalia, but to drive the Al-Shabaab and secure the border. That's why it was called Operation Linda Inchi. That's how it was.
Yes. Yes.
That also troops could have done for as long as necessary, securing the border. But once they went into Somalia, it then became necessary to move in and liberate the port of Kismayu, which was the main supply route for the Al-Shabaab. And here we actually discussed with our international partners, the EU, the US, and asked for support in liberating Kismayu. That did not come. Then we actually did it solo, and we liberated Kismayu using our forces. After that, now our forces should have come back and allow the AMISOM forces in Somalia to take over the control of Kismayu and the other areas and withdraw back. This is in line with the AU resolution that countries that share a common border with Somalia should not have their troops inside Somalia because of the risk of retaliatory attacks by Al-Shabaab and so on. That's why Ugandans are there, that's why the Burundians are there and so on. And one was thinking that other African countries would send their troops there and that our troops would withdraw and secure the borders as originally intended. Unfortunately, our troops were rehatted and now joined the AMISOM. But that also was not to be an indefinite deployment. What we are saying is that every country in the world takes decisions in its strategic national interest, and that well, troops are there. We know that this matter is not going to end tomorrow. It will not end the day after or next year. It is a long-drawn conflict. It will take a long time. Right. So we need to have an exit strategy.
And you didn't have one at the time because?
We did not intend to stay this long, that time.
But you did not have an exit strategy, however. There were no timelines at the time.
We were going to pull out as quickly as AMISOM troops were able to move in and take over the positions that we had liberated.
So when you look at the attacks that also the country has witnessed in the past.
Before you go away, I want this to be understood clearly. We are not telling the government today, pull out Kenyan troops tomorrow, okay? We are saying, what are the circumstances under which our troops will pull out and when? And because we then must work toward achieving those circumstances. If it is because there are sufficient AMISOM troops, those will take over from us, then we must put pressure on AMISOM to acquire more troops which will replace Kenyan troops. Right. If it is creating capacity for the Somali regime to be able to take over the responsibilities of protecting their land, that is another one. We say we will spend much time training so many Somali troops, and as they are trained, we deploy them and our troops are withdrawn gradually. Okay. So you can work on, say, a 1 year, 2 year strategy of pulling out. But the way things stand right now, we're just talking loud and shouting, we will not...
And what if they argue they have intelligence that would require them to stay there longer than, say, giving it that timeline, 2 years, just as at the time when you were going in, you didn't have those timelines because there was that necessity to stay on up until certain issues, according to information intelligence that was coming in, that you stay?
Yeah, we're saying that...
it can be long term.
It can be long term.
Okay.
And you see, the other countries tell you, we're happy to see partners like the US telling us, oh, we are partners with you, we will support you, and so on. But you ask yourself, where did the US withdraw its troops from Somalia? Where can they bring more troops into Somalia?
Someone would argue the US does not, say, share a border with Somalia.
But they have got a strategic interest. Why were they there in the first place? You ask yourself, why were they there? And why did they run away? Okay. And so on. And why did they move out of Iraq? Iraq is not peaceful. Right. There's a lot of wars you can see going on in Iraq today. Afghanistan, and so on. So yeah. Every country has to take a decision that serves its strategic self-interest. In
as far as in local, when you come into homeland security, and that has suffered also a major challenge, and you have time and again after these attacks come out and said that perhaps you need to be engaging. The president needs to get into this dialogue. What is it you'd hope to tell him if you had that sit down, in as far as security especially is concerned? And looking at what he's done so far, there was a demand that there be a change in security management. that appears to have happened, but still the attacks continue. So as you look at it, what is the issue, and what is it you'd tell him if he had an engagement with you over security?
First, change in management does not merely mean sacking Lenku and bringing Kaiseri, or sacking
resigning Kimayo
and bringing Boynet. You see, it's much more than that. Because we were talking about security sector reform, comprehensive security sector reform, which has stalled. It's not ongoing properly. But what you say that they must address the issue of devolving security system. See, the county governments need to have a say in the security.
So how exactly would that work?
Because you see, you have removed provincial administration. You are still retaining it, but it is no longer what it used to be. Because people no longer go to county commissioner. You put him there, because in the past he was the only representative of the government. Now, people have got the county government with the resources. And people, the Wananchi know that that's where employment is. That's where contracts is. If you want those things, you go to the governor. You don't go to the county commissioner. So the county commissioner does not have the same clout and say like the DC or the PC used to have at that time. Yet this government is relying on them. But they are no longer in touch with the Wananchi, the people on the ground. That's where there is a disconnect. Because they are the ones who have been given the responsibility of coordinating security agencies in the county. We have suggested in the bill that there should be a county security advisory committee chaired by the governor, which will be able to work with the national government. Because the Constitution says that the two levels of government are distinct but must cooperate with each other. See, and we see no reason why the national government is resisting this cooperation.
Okay. Your political ambition, we've seen your core principles and code put their house in order ahead of 2017, say that they will be putting their name out there in as far as being the flag bearer for the coalition. You launched your website the other day. There's an SMS number that now is in place as well. So 2017, will Raila Odinga, must ask this question, will his name be on the ballot paper?
You see, we're in 2015, so you can see that we still have
a long way to go.
Long time to go. You see, Hillary Clinton has just declared her candidature because the U.S. presidential elections are next year. So it's now that people are declaring their candidature.
Would you want to be president of Kenya still?
I want somebody who can actually help Kenyans to realize the Kenyan dream.
Are you that person?
I believe I'm that person, but I'm not the only person. There are also other Kenyans. So that's why I've said that I will be willing to support somebody else. And you know that I'm not just talking. I've done it before. There's a time I said Kibaki Tosha, and I stood after him when he was injured. I campaigned. I was the actual presidential candidate throughout the country until we won the elections. So I'm not somebody who is selfish, who is ambitious, who is dying to be the president of the Republic of Kenya. Oh, this is Raila's last time. He has only one bullet left.
What do you say? What do you say to those people who are saying that this is the last time?
I don't know what they wish to me. I think that Raila Odinga will die after this do or die. Yeah. No, I'm not losing sleep at night because I'm thinking about the next presidential elections. They will come and go, and life will continue.
2017, however, will be 20 years since you first sought presidency in '97. So what is it about this presidency, this seat, that you fought hard for these 20 years? What is it about being president? Because on the other hand, there are those, as you just said, there who would argue he's power hungry. He just wants to be president. What do you tell those people?
I tell those people to read history properly. In 97, we ran for the first time, and we lost. We were a number of candidates. Some of them are no longer with us, like late Mama Lokijana. A year later, 5 years later, I should have run. But I said, no, I'm not running. You ask yourself, because time is running out. If I was desperate, I would have run in 2002. But I did not run, because I didn't think it was opportune to run. I backed Kibaki. We only disagreed on the issue of Katiba, on constitution. And that's why we parted ways in 2005, when he fired us after the Chungwa beat Ndizi. And that's the only reason why I ran against him. If not, I would have supported him in 2007 too. Okay?
So
but
for you, this...
We disagreed. Yeah. That's why I ran, and I beat him. And everybody in this country knows that I won the elections. Okay? Yeah. And the people are saying, if I was power hungry, I would not have accepted a grand coalition solution, because I won the elections. Huh? And my victory was stolen. But I agreed to compromise and say, okay, we'll share power, I will be prime minister, you'll be the president.
Why should you be?
Again, last time round, you know what happened. So what I'm trying to do is, I'm basically trying to show Kenyans that, look, this is not for Raila Odinga. But we must create a system where people's votes count. Because tomorrow it will not be Raila who will be rigged. It is going to be you. Huh? And how will you feel? You see, if you win an election and then somebody else is the one who is declared, what's the point of multi-party democracy? What's the point of people going to the ballot if whoever is going to be the president must be predetermined on ethnic basis? So Raila Odinga is in this thing for Kenya. For Kenya. Not for himself.
In 2007, the Rift Valley regions supported you overwhelmingly. However, in 2013, they appear to have turned their back against you. What mistakes, if any, do you see you may have made in that particular period of time to have gotten that to happen?
You see, this is also an assumption which is made. Rift Valley is a multi-ethnic region. It does not consist of just one region. In 2013, one of them, their son, was running as of the Kalenjin, was running as a deputy president, and they voted that ticket. That is understood, what we call the homeboy mentality. But I got majority of votes among the Turkana in the Rift Valley, among the Ma-speaking, the Maasai, the Samburus. I won the majority. And the Lohias who live in the Rift Valley. It's only the Kikuyus and the Kalenjins in the Rift Valley who voted predominantly for the Jubilee, for an obvious reason. So I did not lose the Rift Valley region. I only lost the votes of the Kalenjin and the Kikuyu in the Rift Valley.
It is, however, a vote-rich region. What is it you're doing to capitalize now, ahead, say, of 2017, to still build on ensuring you have more votes from that particular region? You've been seen with Isaac Ruto, who's been opposing the deputy president in Rift Valley. So there are those who look at it as you're trying to join forces with those who are opposed to the deputy president, so you could, in essence, perhaps say, cut him to size. Is that how you're looking at it?
You see, politics is dynamics. It's dynamic. Politics is never a static game, you see. And in politics, they say that there are no permanent friends or permanent enemies. And they say also that politics makes of strange bedfellows. Right. I don't have enmities among the Kalenjin community. I've still very many friends and supporters. You know, they nicknamed me Rabi Bey.
What?
Arap Mibei.
Arab Mibei. What does that mean?
The son of the lake.
Okay.
Okay? And there's still some of them who are very close to me. The other time it was just like, this is a homeboy who is there, who is running. And I understood. We never disagreed at all. And we're still friends.
But are you open to join forces with the likes of Isaac Ruto and others to make more inroads in that region?
We will work together with whoever wants to work together with us.
Okay.
You see, I'm the only candidate who is able to break this barrier and get support from several other communities. You see, when the other time when I got majority in the coast, in the northeastern, in western, in Nyanza, in part of the eastern, and so on. And even I got quite a bit of votes in the Rift Valley, although the others got majority.
Yes.
So, and that is Kenya. So in other words, I treat Kenyans equally as Kenyans.
Okay.
And I want to be a bridge between the past and the real united Kenya, so that we can be able to realize the Kenyan dream.
All right, let's cross borders a little to Burundi, and we've all been seeing what's happening there. And you said it was unfortunate but not surprising, the events. And my question to you is, could, maybe to clarify that statement, what you meant, but also could ever be justified?
You see, I am a student of Burundi politics. I have been a mediator in Burundi. And I've been to Burundi during the very difficult times when nobody was going there. So I know what Burundi is going through and I understand. That's why I'm very passionate about Burundi. There was one time I said the world's attention was focused on Rwanda, ignoring Burundi. And I said that Rwanda was a genocide, has been, and Burundi was a genocide in the making. Okay, and through the effort, I was sent there by Mwalimu Nyerere, who was then the mediator. And then thereafter, when Mwalimu died, Mandela took over, and eventually there was Arusha Accord, which brought peace, and which was very delicate. But the then President Buyoya did a half term, and then allowed the fellow to finish, and then Nkurunziza was selected. It doesn't matter whether you are elected by the people or by parliament. That was through an Arusha Accord, which said you do 2 terms. The others were to do half term each. Then thereafter, then the 5th term would take over. So you do the first two terms, and that's it, 2-term limitation. Now the guy is arguing that, the other time I was not elected by the people, I was elected by parliament. Now I'm going for the 2nd term.
Yes.
You see, we know these kind of things, but the thing is that you know how volatile the Burundian politics is. He is just representing a section of the Burundian community, and the situation can erupt into serious violence. And the militias can go back to the bush, and you just go back to square one. That's why I've said that Nkurunziza ought not just to postpone, like the President Uhuru was advising him, elections, but he should himself withdraw from the electoral process and allow the democratic process to take place.
What do you make of the attempted coup?
I've said, you see, this was an expression of the will. The people on the streets. And people on the streets, they were being beaten, they were being tear gassed, they were being arrested, they were being detained. See, and it was obvious Nkurunziza was forcing himself on the people.
The people were protesting, but the military was attempting to take over. Do you support that kind of action?
The military was trying to restore constitutionality, but the military was basically trying to protect the constitution so that Nkurunziza does not go in and use the Electoral Commission, in brackets, favorable to him, to rig himself back into power.
So you're in essence saying you support of the actions of the military. However, Nkurunziza is still the rightfully elected president at this particular moment in the country. So on one hand, you support what they were doing.
I'm not supporting coup.
Okay.
I don't support coup. What I've said is that if somebody is trying to force himself on the people, then the people are justified to remove him from office. This is what I'm trying to say. So, and we say that what Nkurunziza is trying to do is unconstitutional. He's trying to impose himself on the people by force. Right now it's by force of arms, because he's still going to run. He's insisted that he's going to do elections, and the presidents of the region are incapable of stopping him. And so now President Uhuru is advising him to postpone the elections. Just postponing the problem is not a solution to a problem. You should actually suggest to him, like I've done today, this morning, I've said he should withdraw from the elections and allow the people of Burundi to democratically elect his successor.
You said that, like you've done this morning, you've spoken to him?
Okay. I've sent a message this morning. It's all in the social media.
Yes.
I've addressed him and asked him to step down.
To withdraw.
To withdraw.
So in the event the military then chose to still push harder if he insists to run for election, you'd be in support of that, because the people have been very clear going out to the streets. The military, again, there's a section of it that's out there to ensure or to try to ensure he doesn't run. So you'd be okay with that? You'd see that as a cause of action?
That is basically that decision is for the Burundian people. I really don't want to suggest to them what they should do. But we hope that it will be peaceful, that it will not be violent, that will cause lives and destruction of property, as has happened in the past. So we wish Burundi well, and we are urging the members of the international community to stand up and be counted here in Burundi, because you can see that the war drums are being sounded, and it is not good, not only for Burundi, for the entire region. Last year, there was an article in the Economics magazine on this region about this second term limit issue, and they say that there were 5 countries which were facing elections in the coming year and where there were likely to be problems. And they mentioned them. One was Burkina Faso, second was DRC, the Congo, then the third was Burundi, the fourth was Rwanda, and fifth was Uganda. And as you can see, you saw what happened last year in Burkina Faso, when Compaoré tried. Then now is in DRC, is in turmoil. Burundi, Rwanda is next, and of course next door. So we need to, as Pan-Africanists who are concerned about the development of democracy and economic empowerment of our people, must be very concerned and worried about these very negative trends which are cancelling the gains which have been made by the African people at a great cost in terms of life and property. This issue of availability of election kits or voter registration, you also need to be made generally available to the people, so that people can register with ease. See, and in Nigeria, people register very close to where they reside, so that on the polling day, transportation is forbidden. people are not allowed to travel on vehicles. You just walk from your house to the polling station, you vote and go back. See, so any vehicle found driving on roads in Nigeria is arrested on the day of the polling. Wow. But these people need to bring these kids closer to the people and ensure that everybody who has attained the majority age is enfranchised to exercise his or her democratic right.
Yeah. So thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you. It's a real pleasure. Shukran.
All right.
Well, you definitely had a good time with him, and you're looking very good, I must say. You are looking the part.
Thank you. So after that, we went and had breakfast, and the interview, and with also Mama Ida. So that will be on Person of Interest next week. We'll be having a promo so you can get an idea of some of the things they said. But we must go. So enjoy your weekend. Trying to see which one of us will be with you tomorrow, but don't you worry, one of us will.
You'll be taken care of, don't you worry. Morning Express has got your morning covered.
Indeed. Thanks for watching. Have a lovely day, and thank you also for all the feedback.
Take care.